cardiovascular disorders such as type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome. As you can see on this map, diabetes is a public problem, growing public problem, affecting currently more than 400 million people in the world. Diabetes is a multifactorial disorder characterized and caused by environmental factors such as lifestyle, stress, smoking, and also by genetic factors. Diabetes is a complex metabolic disorder. It's characterized by chronic hyperglycemia, leading at long term to severe organic degenerations and complications. These complications affect, in particular, eye, kidney, heart, nerves, and brain. Epidemiological studies show that diabetes is also strongly linked to other severe disorders such as cardiovascular disorders, obesity, and different kinds of cancers. So consequently, diabetes is a socioeconomic burden in terms of disability, mortality, and health costs. In the frame of international collaboration projects, we bring together scientists from different sectors, from different fields, and different countries in order to better understand the mechanism of type 2 diabetes. So, our approach is multidisciplinary. We integrate, based on the integration of several and various data, including epidemiological, clinical, nutritional, genetic, and also microbiota characteristics, in order to define and to identify new biomarkers, which will pave the way to personalized medicine, in order to improve the health care of patients, to prevent degenerative complications towards a healthy longevity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you finished early, and if every speakers finish early, then we'll have more time to discuss on our issue members and their pitch. So excellent, Kathy. And another speaker is Adijit Majumdar.
Yeah, thank you, GYA, and thank you, the local organization committee, for this. So, good evening, all the beautiful people in this room. But, sorry, I need to start my talk like with a bad news. The bad news is that by the time this talk will end, that is in the next 5 minutes, 1500 million, that is 1.5 billion cells in your body are going to die. We will not see them again. However, that is the good news. The good news is that most of those 1500 billion cells will get also replenished in this 5-minute time. And from where these new cells will come? These new cells will come from the specially functionalized cells that are there in our tissues called adult stem cells. These adult stem cells have the beautiful property to divide, proliferate, increase in number, and give whatever loss we are acquiring due to either aging, external stress, or some kind of injury. So think how wonderful it would be if we could treat all age-related degenerative diseases using these stem cells. For example, say I have a decaying cornea, I can treat that with corneal stem cells. I have wrinkles, I will not use the word treat for the wrinkle, but reverse the wrinkle using skin or epidermal stem cells. pool of cells. So imagine, if you have a workforce of 100 people, how many people you will keep as a reserve for critical situation? Maybe 5, maybe 10, but you will obviously not keep another 100 people at reserve bench, right? Similarly, in our body, we have very few cells as stem cells. But to have any clinical application, you need millions of cells. So we don't have any other option than to isolate those cells, culture in the lab, and grow. And because they are stem cells, because of their wonderful property to cell division and increase in number, even if you start with like a few hundreds of cells, in a few weeks' time, you can get millions of cells. But still, there is a problem. The problem is that after a few divisions, these cells, they refuse to divide further. And why that happens is still up and an open question. What we believe is that they do that because when we culture the cells in our lab, they are not happy. And how they can be happy? You have uprooted them from their homeland, that is our issue, and trying to, you are forcing them to live in a situation which is completely foreign to them. So we believe that if I can make a happy home for them, which will closely resemble their tissue, I can grow them better. So in our lab, we do the tissue engineering to create happy home for the cells, and we have found that at least for the bone marrow stem cells and the skin stem cells, I can grow them better, I can maintain them for long. How we do that, I will not go into the scientific nitty-gritties here, but I will be very, very happy to discuss that over the tea break. However, I would like to conclude my talk, I like a thought or like the thought for you. The thought is that while my lab will be busy in creating the happy home for the cells, can we all pledge here to make this world a big happy home for everyone, irrespective of religion, race, nationalism, color, gender, sexuality, and age? Can we take a pledge that no one, and by the word I mean no one, will be uprooted from their homeland and to be forced to live in some other country? I believe together we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhijit, for your wonderful talk. And we don't have time to ask the questions and for the discussion, but if you find their talk interesting and the research interesting, you may discuss with our speaker after this talk or during breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whatever. And so far, all the speakers are on time, and now the third speaker is Gregory Toldi.
Hello everyone. Apologies in advance if it's going to be too technical, but as it's just been said, I'm happy to discuss details with anyone who's interested. I'm just trying to give a very brief overview of one of our particular projects that I felt is very closely related to aging, and in particular immunosenescence. So this term is used to describe the aging of the immune system, which is a phenomenon that is gaining more and more importance and attention. And I think we heard during the panel as well that it can be regarded as one of the layers of aging. And this influences a lot of things. Influences, for example, how we fight infections when we grow old, how our immune system reacts to vaccination when we get old, and how diseases like autoimmunity develop in old age. So this diagram is just to give you an idea of the mechanism of lymphocyte activation. So we studied T lymphocytes in our group, and these are the key players of the immune system, and there are many types of them. But all of them need to be activated in order to function. And the way this happens is through antigen presentation. So the antigen against which they are going to react is presented to them, and the signal transduction mechanism takes place, which leads to the release of calcium from the intracellular stores called the endoplasmic reticulum, and this triggers further influx of calcium through channel from the extracellular space. And this increase of intracellular calcium leads to exerting the function of the cell, such as the production of cytokines, for example, signaling molecules. And in return, potassium leaves the cells through potassium channels. So if we block these channels, then we can also influence the entry of calcium, and in this way we can achieve immunomodulation and the modulation of the function of these cells. So we measure this using flow cytometry, which is a method that is looking at individual cells, which are defined by different markers, fluorescent markers, detected by an instrument, and in the range of, say, 10 minutes. In this measurement, we are looking at millions and millions of cells, and we are looking at many, many different T cell subsets at the same time after activating the cells. And a normal calcium influx will look like this. So after activating the cells, you will see an increase in the calcium, and then a decrease in about 10 to 15 minutes time. And if you record these slopes from the individual T cell subsets, then you can calculate different parameters of these slopes, such as the area under the curve, or the maximum amount of calcium. And this gives you an opportunity to compare the degree of T cell activation in your samples and different patients. So in this particular study, I'm sorry for the busy slide, I'm going to take you through in a minute. In this particular study, we were looking at 5 different age groups. All age groups involved healthy individuals. The first one was cord blood, then 10 to 15 years, 25 to 40 years, 45 to 55 years, 60 to 75 years. And we were looking at different T cell subsets, so CD8 cells, TH1 cells, and TH2 cells. TH1 cells are responsible for promoting inflammation, and TH2 cells are responsible for reducing inflammation. So what I want to point out in this slide is that we can see an increase of activation along with age, and then decrease in old age in the pro-inflammatory cell subset, but this is not present in the anti-inflammatory cell subset. And this is interesting because this can influence things like how we find infection in old age. So the increased susceptibility to infection in old people can be partly explained by this phenomenon, for example. The time is running out, so I'm not going to talk to you about the rest of the slide. I just also wanted to point out that we also saw some changes in the function of these potassium channels between the various age groups, and we think that this is also related to the differences in how the immune system works in the aging population compared to, for example, children or newborn babies in Portugal. So the conclusion is that other potassium channel patterns, and these are the regulators of calcium influx kinetics, might contribute to the development of age-related changes of T cell function, and the lower level of activation of TH1 cells in the elderly may play an important role in increased susceptibility to infection in this particular age group. And with that, thank you for your attention, and thank you for the lab members involved.
5 minutes, 30 seconds, that's not bad. So, our next,
I was using other people's. Sorry.
our next speaker is Srinjoy Mishra. Srinjoy Mishra.
You are good.
Hi everyone. I'll talk about ambulatory healthcare for the elderly, and I work as an University of Edinburgh. I'm a senior lecturer, associate professor for one minute. So, what is ambulatory healthcare? So, we know way of healthcare, which is basically illness management. Illness management is when you fall ill, you go to the hospital, you get some medicine, you get some diagnosis, you come back, you try to take the same medicine and go on with your life, and after a while, you might have to go to the hospital again. And this cycle goes on and on at a faster rate for elderly. So on the other side, health management is when your health is regularly checked, when even if you are outside a hospital, and you would normally not go to a hospital, but consider the aging population, many of them go to the hospital quite often. So ambulatory healthcare takes you from illness management to health management. And what does it? What happens as a result? It frees up expensive hospital space. Care, there is a typo here. Care can be extended to home, which is very useful for the elderly because they don't want to adhere to their care routines easily, and hospitals are very difficult place for people to be for longer time. And early diagnosis can promote better treatment. And this is particularly useful if you see the demographic of the Western world, where this is between 30 to 50, it's almost bulging out here, and in 30 years it will be almost like that. So, and the LMIC situation is slightly different, but it will slowly catch up as well. So why do we keep doing illness management rather than health management? So there is a skewed interest from healthcare and pharma industry. Pharma industry wants to sell you medicine. They're not interested in diagnostics. So there are few of them. So the diagnostic cost is a tiny fraction of the total healthcare cost if you consider the whole world. And it's quite hard. It's quite hard to do this. I mean, a diagnosis is normally done in a hospital setup. Blood samples are taken. You are normally sedated sometimes, or lying down very quietly. But we have recently advanced in this quite a lot from a different industry, not the typical healthcare and pharma industry. It's the tech industry which produces the smart watches, for gaming devices, for EEG, and for elite athletes and so forth. This kind of devices. These are not particularly for medical grade application. We can take a lot of influence, and we can get a lot of inspiration from this kind of devices to make medical devices. The similar techniques that can be used, but there are also quite a lot of challenges. So the challenges are, I mean, it's a medical grade device, normally owned for the elderly, by the elderly, or at home situation outside the hospital without any professional person to manage it. It has to be robust, it has to be self-managed, it has to be comfortable, and cheap and likable, a lot of different things. Not everything is true for all kinds of devices. I'll give you a quick update of all the devices that I'm working on, many of them actually. You can easily understand an EEG device, an ECG device. This is very important to be likable, otherwise you don't want to wear it. There is a gastrointestinal tract field that we are working on. It will go through your GI tract and give images, particularly ultrasound images, because endoscopy is terrible for old people. They don't like to do it at all. There is a smart stent that we are working on. So once the stent goes into your body, there is no information. The only thing happens is when you get a thrombosis or a restenosis, then you have to open it up, and there is a new stent that goes in. So you want to give some information out of the stent by making it smart, by adding something else. And this is an implant that right now we are using for animal studies, but could also go to human beings. And this is a diagnostic device for multiple diseases together. Basically, how I'm involved in all of this, being an electronics engineer, all of this is a beginning part of these are electronic chips. Believe me, there are a lot of electronics in all of this, and that's how I come in. And I want to emphasize that this technology will be very important in the coming days, and you will see more and more chips implanted in your body. Then come to me for any help. Thank you. Bye.
Glad that he's an engineer and he can adjust his time. All right. The next speaker is Stefan Kohler. Stefan.
So would like to share with you a story about health, wealth, and technology, and show you how the world has changed and how it is likely to change. So one way, next slide please. One way to measure health in a simple way is to look at life expectancy, and a way to assess wealth is to look at a measure of average income. And this is exactly what I'm showing you on this graph. You see on the y-axis the life expectancy, and on the x-axis you see the average income. And I already put two countries in there. One is Swaziland, which currently has the lowest life expectancy in the world, which is 49 years. And I show you the life expectancy in Germany, which is close to that of Swaziland. It's also 49 years. And we standardized the income that you can compare it. And in Germany, it's 6,600 international US dollars. In Swaziland, it's 8,000 international US dollars. So I have just a question for you. Like, there's one bit of information which I didn't tell you, and what could that be? Yes, like Swaziland, it's the latest available data, it's the year 2015. So what's your guess, like Germany, at which point in time could that data have been collected? Shout it out to me, what do you think? 1920, that's a pretty good guess. It was 1910, yeah. So it's about 100 years ago. And the blue curve shows you how income and health have changed over the course of the past 100 years in Germany. And you see, it's like 3 or 4 generations back that now in one of the richest countries in the world, with a high life expectancy, both income and life expectancy actually has been quite low as is currently in some of the countries with the lowest life expectancy in the world. And it has taken about 100 years for Germany, to get to where it is now. And the second thing I want you to observe with me in this curve is, when you look in the beginning, like most of the gains in life expectancy took actually place, in the early years. There were like steep gains. And after 1950s, like it's not as steep anymore. So with the initial increase in income from 8,000 international US dollars to 20,000 international US dollars, life expectancy, like the correlated with the increase in life expectancy from 49 years to over 70 years. And currently in Germany, life expectancy is 81 years. So since 1960, not so much gain anymore. And now let's move one step further. Let's look at the whole world in this graph. This graph shows you by different colors country groups. In red, it's the group of low-income countries. In green, in the middle, it's like middle-income countries. And in blue, it's high-income countries. And unsurprisingly, you will see that most of the low-income countries are in that corner where Germany used to be. Middle-income countries are in between, both when it comes to income life expectancy, and high-income countries are on the sort of end with the high life expectancy. But at the same time, you can see within the high-income countries, it doesn't really matter that much anymore how much more wealth they have. Life expectancy only increases a little. And like how this relation is on average is illustrated by the black line. And you can see, even if you compare countries for 1 year only, which is the year 2015, there's a similar log-shaped relationship as can be observed within one country, which is, in the beginning, when you have little income, life expectancy is low, and increases in income or in life expectancy are very closely correlated, but especially initially, increases in wealth correlate with higher increases in life expectancy. And then, as a final step, I give an additional layer. So where does technology come in? something has happened as well. If we compare all countries in the world, now between 1995 and 2015, this is about the range for which data is available, then all countries, regardless of their income levels, have gained some life expectancy. That is technological progress. Better medicines, better health systems, whatever it is. Like, given the income level you have, 1995, life expectancy has been a bit lower. That's the difference between the black dotted curve and the black line. Yeah? I illustrated in yellow Thailand, where you can see from 1995 until 2015, life expectancy has increased from 70 years to 75 years, and income has increased by about 30%. So what I want you to take home with that we have a huge potential now for countries with low income and low life expectancy, that they also increase on both levels. It's still an argument of debate if better health makes more income or more income makes better health. They seem to be sort of co-beneficial for each other, but whatever it is sort of an enormous potential for these countries on the left side to move to the right side, and hopefully in a much shorter time than a country like Germany did. And that is what I wanted to share with you for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. When I was in Germany studying, I had a different feeling of German timekeeping. But anyway, I would like to invite our next speaker, Maha Nasser.
Hello, everyone. I'm not going to be too technical, but if you're starting to lose hair or you're expecting to lose hair, so this is the presentation for you. So, okay. So, the body has inherent mechanism of defending itself against stresses. We are all subjected to external stresses such as UV radiation, environmental pollution, cigarette smoking. Even if you're not a smoker, everyone around you is smoking. Endogenous factors. We also, inside our body, there are lots of toxic reactions which are taking place, releasing what we call ROS, which are reactive oxygen species. And these ROS, they are responsible for several destructive cellular, and you can imagine all sorts of damage to the cells, to the DNA, to the protein, to the lipids. So, the disease that we're going to focus on, or my research that I'm going to talk about today, is the androgenic alopecia. As you can see from the slide, men are slightly unlucky compared to women. This is how the male start to lose hair. That's the pattern, and for the female also, thinning of the hair in certain areas occur. So one might say, okay, so if this androgenic alopecia, it's an oxidative disease, which depends on the oxidation of stuff. So it would give antioxidants so that it is the solution, but it's not that easy. The problem from the pharmaceutical point of view is that these antioxidants, they are very challenging molecules. For example, the first problem that we are facing is that we have low bioavailability, which means that even if you take the antioxidant molecules, the absorption is very low. The second problem is that, okay, if you just rub it on your skin, on your hair, it fully penetrates. So in our research, we use the melatonin, which is a strong antioxidant molecule, and we formulated them in the form of nanoparticles. Okay, so here comes the hard stuff. What are nanoparticles? They are very minute particles which can't be seen with the eyes. They can be seen just with the electron microscope, but they have the unique ability to penetrate, as you can see, through the cells, and even they can reach the hair follicles and accumulate given their action. So the picture that I'm showing in the upper part of the slide are actual pictures of the nanoparticles that we prepared. The one in the left is nanoparticles with the melatonin and antioxidant oils, and the one in the right is with melatonin and antioxidant particle, which is the vitamin C. So we even did a clinical study. We had 60 volunteers. It was a phase 1 clinical study. And we divided the patients into 3 groups. The first group, they just took the melatonin solution. The second group, they were taking the first type of nanoparticles with the antioxidant oils. And the third one, they took the antioxidant nanoparticles with the vitamins. And the results were amazing. As you can see, group 2 and group 3, there was significant increase in the hair density, hair thickness, even we measured it with a microscope. We measured it with the video and the photographs and everything. And the nanoparticles with the antioxidant oils were slightly superior to the one with the
So, thank you. I'm Koen, I'm a QA member. I'm a historian of science, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a side project of mine that I'm doing with a friend, Roberto Toma. It's not my core research, but I think it's something fun to talk about. So the search for longevity is old, of course, we can expect that. And in the early modern period, people actually thought that you could become very old because there was biblical authority for that. Like Methuselah and others, they became like 1,000 years old, and that was kind of the goal people trying to aspire to. But of course, they realized that that wasn't very easy, especially in the 16th, 17th century. People generally became only 40 or 50 years old. Right? So how do you do this? That was a big question. Now, people at the time thought that these ancient Old Testament patriarchs, they were different than us. First, they had different bodies, in some way. Secondly, they sinned less, so they were better people. And thirdly, they followed a different diet. Now, of course, we can't do so much about the body we're given, and we can do even less about the sins we made, right? So the only thing they focused on was really like the diet. And people had very different views, and they did experiments with diets at the time. And I mean, in a way, they were really biohackers, if you want. So one of these guys was Francis Bacon, now known as one of the fathers of experimental science in his method. He was also experimenting with diet and food and medicine. And what he found out in his research was that to get better health, there was a very specific diet for that. And to get old, there was another diet for that. But he discovered that these two diets were incompatible, and that was a big problem. I mean, and in a sense, we know that. I mean, for instance, tobacco makes you like vigorous today, but it doesn't make you very old. That's the problem. But there were other people that said something differently, like this guy, Luigi Fornaro. He thought that you could actually become old in a pleasant way and in a healthy way. Now, what we see if we look at his books, that it gets reprinted over centuries and centuries. So it continues, it's translated into like treaties for a healthy and long life. So the combination is very important because this was kind of a special view, and obviously it was very, very popular. And until today, even you find this book into print. So it was written 400 years ago. It's still sold like crazy and like edited health, beauty, and a long-term life, or well, let's eat less, because his idea was we actually need to eat less, and it will make us healthy and old forever. So this of course isn't currently biohacking anymore. That was Bacon in his time. He was actually very people who read this book, obviously, they look towards older knowledge that's been established by tradition. And so I just wanted to take this example in a way to think about like the limits of scientific knowledge in nutrition, and also to think about like why people actually look at these older traditions. And so I'm wondering, in a way, I see this as an invitation to value traditional knowledges differently and also think about diversities of knowledge, and potentially also to try to discover interactions between traditional and scientific knowledge today. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have two more speakers. Our next speaker is Nova Ahmed.
Good afternoon. Okay, I don't have any slides. It was a lightning talk, so I thought I would do a TED style talk. And now I'm very scared that everybody's looking at me instead of those presentation boards. Today I want to talk about the story of how I started working on a particular technology that was related to mental health. So I was in US for almost 10 years, and we returned to Bangladesh after my graduate school. And when we were driving cars in Bangladesh as opposed to in US, it seemed to be very stressful. So I don't want to put pictures here because then I cannot invite you to Bangladesh. But it's when you're driving, you don't know what to expect. It can be a person jumping in front of the car. There are multiple vehicles of different speed. There are cars, there are baby taxi, there are CNG-driven taxi, there are rickshaw, which is pulled by human, and all sorts of traffic sharing the same road, and they're unruly, they don't follow any traffic rules, and they're competitive, they use greedy manner, whoever can go fast. And sometimes there are cars coming in the opposite direction, breaking all the rules. And it's stressful, it gets into your nerves, and you will, when you are going into the road, you will hear all sorts of noises. Honk, people shouting at each other, and it's a chaotic situation. And we try to find out, is it as stressful as it looks like? What happens to the people who are driving? We are actually driving just to the office and back. But there are commercial drivers who are driving for a long time. What happens to them? So we started talking to this driver community. Actually, in Bangladesh, these commercial drivers are at the lowest of the income pool. They don't get any priority in terms of we cannot even think about mental health. Regular health is actually lowest priority. So when we started talking to them, it was a very interesting experience. All these drivers, they were extremely happy. They invited us, please sit down with us. They kept talking and talking. We couldn't stop them. And sometimes they would offer us lunch, please have lunch with us, all those sorts of things coming up. And we found out their life is really stressful because they have long driving hours. Most of the cars don't have air conditioner, and it's as humid as here, or sometimes worse. So it's a tropical country, as you can imagine. You get sweaty, you get hot, and sometimes you're in a congested road, so you can't even get out of the car and take some rest. So because I'm a technology developer, right away I think, oh, okay, we have a way to measure their stress or discomfort or how they're feeling. And maybe that can help other people. So we developed, probably you are aware of those devices, Fitbit or other popular wrist devices. Okay, but these are expensive. We cannot buy a bunch of them for all these commercial drivers because they're close to $100 or 70, 50, something like that. So we made a basic sensing device which measures pulse, sweat, temperature, and it's so basic that it looks very ugly, and and also it costs as low as $17 in the laboratory version. Maybe it can be lower if we work on that. And we figured out that okay, it varies a lot. The pulse, the sweat, and sweat is tricky because it depends on what type of car you're riding. But we can actually figure out whether the person is feeling uncomfortable. So we had a mobile app and this technology app to help them, and it gives them little advice like open the window or just turn on the radio, take a little break when we find out that the person is not feeling well. So we just did a study on 87 drivers, and we are hoping to make changes to the policy level as well. And hopefully, if the look gets better, maybe I can bring it next time for you to take a look. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nova. Moderating a session just before the pitch of the candidates who are running for EC is always an opportunity for a person like me because I'm contesting for EC member because I can drive them and give you more time and then shake your 9 votes. But I didn't do that, okay? So you can see how honestly brutal I am. And without further delay, I would like to invite our last speaker, Shabna Khan.
A very good evening, everyone. Again, no slides because I just wanted to use this time to talk to you. Because risk communication concerns every life, each one of us, and not just us, our families, our communities, our nations, and the entire world. So, just now, I want to play an audio and just want to ask what kind of thoughts that come to your mind when you hear this noise or siren, or what kind of concerns that come to your mind. Anyone would like to share? What thought comes to your mind, or what kind of emotion gets generated in your body, or what concerns that pass through? Run, yes, and fear, also anxiety. And given that at this point of time it's played by me, so you know you are safe. But when it happens in real life, people actually start to run because they perceive the real threat. So we do have data that such kind of siren actually saves people's life. But unfortunately, we do not collect the data for how many people actually die because of the threat. So we do have cases when people die just because they jump off of the window because of fear. And instead, if they would have taken the stairs, they would still be alive. So we have also cases when people die because of heart attack. So why this happens? It's mainly because much of our risk communication is driven, it uses fear, or it also commands control. And when this communication happens, most of the time people are not treated as intelligent beings, but rather as herd. And we are all pushed together to go to a safe place and then sit up. And these people may also include people like you and me who may be more aware about
why again that happens. And it happens because most of our communication is very much concentrated around the situations of risk. So most of the time when disaster happens, we start to talk about disaster as if disaster gives us the freedom to talk about that. Before that, very few people would be interested to talk about it. Or it is like it takes a lot of force to ask them come to a table and talk about and be prepared. And even when disaster happens, we do not talk about sustainability because we are more interested to talk about the survival. And the pattern which emerges is when we are in disaster, we are talking about disaster, and when we are sustaining, we are talking about sustainability. And it is very clear if we won't talk about disaster now, we will never be able to prepare for disaster. So that is a major dilemma. And the force that comes into aggression is because at a disaster they don't see anything can be done. So we have to expand the domain of risk communication out of the risk situations. Communication as a word comes from the word commune. And we are also a community of 200, I think, most writers and distinguished scholars. And although we are doing a lot of beautiful things here outside of our own personal research, but I think disaster is one topic which concerns every life, and we are not immune to it. So I think apart from these wonderful things, we should also address such kind of serious issues because we have a wider resource base, and I think we should not just let it go, and we should actually think about it and take action so that we have a safer world. So thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much. And thank you all the speakers for keeping all of your talks on time, and you guys made my life easier. And please give a round of applause to all our wonderful speakers. With this, I'll thank you all for your attention. Thank you so much. Now, since we finished before time, so we still have some time. Maybe you can stretch your legs and go around and have a cup of coffee or tea, whatever, and then we'll meet here in 15 minutes. Thank you.